The gun was cold against my temple, but it wasn't the weapon that made my blood run cold, it was the man holding it. Dante Moretti, the most dangerous mafia boss in London, the man who just whispered 6 words that shattered my entire world: kneel for me or they die. My little sister, my grandmother, everyone I loved was in his hands. And the worst part, 3 months ago I'd fallen desperately, stupidly in love with him, without knowing who he really was. This is my story and I'm telling it because I survived, barely. My name is Sophia Chen and I never believed in love at first sight, not until that rainy October night in London. I was working my usual shift at the Velvet Rose, an upscale bar in Mayfair where the rich and powerful came to forget their troubles. I'd been a bartender there for 2 years, saving every penny to pay for my grandmother's medical bills and my sister Lily's university tuition. At 25, my life was simple: work, family, survival. Romance wasn't even on my radar. Then he walked in. Tall, devastatingly handsome, dark hair perfectly styled, sharp jawline, and eyes the color of midnight storms. He wore a tailored black suit that probably cost more than my annual salary, and when he moved, people instinctively stepped aside. Power radiated from him like heat from a flame. He sat at my bar, our eyes met, and for a moment the entire world stopped. "What can I get you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Surprise me," he said. His voice was deep with a slight Italian accent that sent shivers down my spine. "I trust you." Trust, such a loaded word, though I didn't know it then. I made him a Negroni with a twist, my specialty. When he took the first sip, his eyes lit up with genuine appreciation. "Perfect," he murmured. "What's your name?" "Sophia." Sophia, the way he said it felt like a caress. "I'm Dante, and I have a feeling you're going to change my life." I laughed nervously. "That's quite a line." "It's not a line, it's a prediction." He came back the next night, and the night after that. For 2 weeks straight, Dante Moretti sat at my bar and we talked, really talked, about everything and nothing. He told me he was in international business, vague enough that I should have questioned it, but his charm was intoxicating. He listened when I talked about my family, my dreams of one day opening my own cafe. He was intelligent, funny, and beneath that intimidating exterior, surprisingly gentle. On our first proper date, he took me to a rooftop restaurant overlooking the Thames. The city lights sparkled below us like fallen stars. "I need to be honest with you," Dante said, taking my hand. "My life is complicated. There are things about me, about my world, that you don't know." "Everyone has secrets," I replied, squeezing his hand. "What matters is who you are with me." He looked at me with such intensity that my breath caught. "You make me want to be a better man, Sophia. You make me want to believe I deserve something pure in this dark world I live in." "You're being dramatic," I teased, though my heart was racing. "Perhaps," he smiled, but there was sadness in his eyes. "Or perhaps I'm finally seeing clearly for the first time." That night he kissed me, and I fell completely, irrevocably in love. For 3 blissful months I lived in a dream. Dante was attentive, passionate, and protective, sometimes too protective. He'd insist on having his driver take me home. He'd show up at the bar with expensive gifts I couldn't accept. When I mentioned a drunk customer who'd gotten aggressive, the man never returned, and I later heard he'd left London entirely. "You have a lot of influence," I'd said to Dante, half joking. "I take care of what's mine," he'd replied, and the possessiveness in his voice should have been a red flag. Instead, it made me feel safe. I was so blind. The truth came crashing down on a Tuesday evening. I'd planned to surprise Dante at his office. He'd been distant lately, stressed about business. I'd never been to his workplace before. He always deflected, saying it was boring corporate stuff. The address led me to a warehouse in East London, not exactly corporate headquarters. I should have turned back. God, I should have run, but love makes you stupid. I walked in through an unlocked side door and followed voices to a large open space. What I saw froze me in place. Dante stood in the center of a circle of men, all armed. On his knees before him was a bloodied man begging. "Please, Mr. Moretti, I can get you the money." "You had 3 months," Dante said, his voice cold as winter frost. This wasn't the warm, gentle man I knew. This was someone else entirely. "You stole from me, from my family. There are consequences." He raised his gun. I gasped, couldn't help it. Every head turned toward me. Dante's face went from cold fury to pure horror in an instant. "Sophia," he breathed. No, you can't be here." I ran, bolted out of that warehouse like my life depended on it because it probably did. I heard Dante shouting my name, heard footsteps behind me, but adrenaline gave me wings. I made it to the main road, flagged down a taxi, and didn't stop shaking until I was locked inside my apartment. The text started immediately. Sophia, please let me explain. You're not safe, I need to talk to you. Sophia, please answer me. I blocked his number, blocked everything, and then I did what any terrified person would do. I Googled him. Dante Moretti, heir to the Moretti crime family, suspected in multiple murders, links to drug trafficking, money laundering, extortion. The room spun. I'd fallen in love with a monster, a beautiful, charming monster who'd lied to me about everything. I thought about going to the police, but the articles made it clear the Morettis owned half the cops in London. I was alone. My only option was to disappear to protect my family by cutting all ties with him. For a week, I managed to avoid him. I quit my job at the Velvet Rose, stayed with a friend, and made plans to leave London entirely. I was going to take Lily and grandmother and just vanish. Then everything fell apart. I came home one evening to find my apartment door ajar. Panic clawed at my throat as I pushed it open. Dante sat on my couch perfectly calm, like he belonged there. His men stood by the windows, armed and silent. Get out, I whispered, backing toward the door. Get out or I'll scream. And who will help you, Sophia? His voice was gentle, which somehow made it worse. The neighbors, they've been encouraged to mind their business tonight. The police, you know I own them. Please, tears burned my eyes. Just leave me alone, I won't tell anyone what I saw. That's not why I'm here. He stood, and despite my terror, my traitorous heart still fluttered at his presence. I'm here because you're in danger. From you. No, he stepped closer and I saw desperation in his eyes, from everyone else. The moment you walked into that warehouse, Sophia, you became a target. My enemies now know you exist. They know you matter to me, and they will use that. Then tell them I don't matter, tell them it was nothing. But it wasn't nothing, his voice broke. You're everything, and that's the problem. Before I could respond, one of his men spoke urgently in Italian. Dante's face hardened. We need to leave, now. I'm not going anywhere with you. The windows exploded inward. Gunfire erupted. Dante threw himself over me, dragging me behind the couch as his men returned fire. The sounds were deafening, glass shattering, guns firing, men shouting. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, but felt like hours. When silence fell, Dante pulled me up. Are you hurt? I shook my head, too shocked to speak. My apartment was destroyed. There was blood on the walls, bodies on the floor. The Constantine family, Dante said grimly. My rivals, they're making a move and they're starting with you. He gripped my shoulders. Sophia, listen to me very carefully. Your sister is at Cambridge right now. Your grandmother is at St. Mary's Hospital. I have men watching them, keeping them safe. But the Constantines are ruthless. If they can't get to you, they'll go after your family instead. No, my legs gave out. He caught me. I can protect them, I can protect you, but you have to come with me, you have to trust me. Trust you? I laughed hysterically. You lied to me about everything. I lied about what I am, he said fiercely, but never about how I feel. Every word, every moment we shared, that was real. I love you, Sophia. I've loved you from the moment you handed me that Negroni and smiled at me like I was just a man, not a monster. You are a monster, I sobbed. I know, the pain in his eyes was real, but I'm your monster, and I will burn the world down before I let anyone hurt you. He made a call, spoke rapidly in Italian, then turned back to me. Your sister and grandmother are being moved to a safe house as we speak. You have two choices, Sophia. Come with me, let me protect you all, and we figure this out together, or refuse and I'll still protect your family from a distance. But you'll never be safe. You'll spend every day looking over your shoulder, and eventually my enemies will find you. Those are terrible choices. I know, but they're the only ones we have. I thought about Lily, just 19, with her whole life ahead of her. About grandmother who'd raised me after my parents died, who deserved peace in her final years. About the life I'd built, now shattered beyond repair. If I come with you, I whispered, what happens to me? Dante stepped closer, his hand cupping my cheek with heartbreaking tenderness. You become mine fully, you live in my world under my protection. I won't lie, it's dangerous, it's dark, but I will love you every day, I will worship you, and I will keep you safe. And if I want to leave someday? His jaw tightened. Then we'll deal with that when it comes, but right now, Sophia, I need an answer. My men are holding off the Constantins, but we don't have much time. I looked into his eyes, those storm-dark eyes that had captivated me from the start. Behind the Mafia boss, I could still see the man who'd listened to my dreams, who'd held me when I cried about my grandmother's diagnosis, who'd made me feel cherished for the first time in my life. Okay, I whispered, I'll come with you. Relief flooded his face. He pulled me close, pressing his forehead to mine. Thank you, I swear to you, Sophia. But I have conditions. He pulled back surprised. Conditions? You want me to trust you? Then you need to earn it back. My voice grew stronger. No more lies, you tell me everything about your world, about what you do. My family stays completely separate from your business, they never know the truth, and if I ever want out, you let me go. No threats, no ultimatums. For a long moment he just stared at me, then slowly he nodded. You have my word, on my family's name. Your word doesn't mean much to me right now, Dante. Then I'll spend every day proving it should. The next 3 months were an education in hell. Dante's world was everything I'd imagined and worse. His family controlled half of London's underworld: drugs, weapons, protection rackets, gambling. The Moretti estate was a fortress, 20 bedrooms, armed guards on every entrance, and walls that had seen decades of blood and violence. But Dante kept his promise. He told me everything. My father built this empire, he explained one evening as we sat in his study. He was ruthless, brilliant, and cruel. When he died, leadership fell to me. I was 23, Sophia, barely a man, suddenly responsible for hundreds of lives, billions in business, and enemies who smelled weakness. So you became just like him, I said quietly. I became what I needed to be to survive. He poured us both whiskey. But yes, I've done terrible things, ordered deaths, destroyed lives. I won't insult you by making excuses. The man in the warehouse that night, did you kill him? He met my eyes steadily. Yes. I should have felt revulsion. Part of me did, but another part, a part I didn't recognize, understood. In his world, mercy was weakness, hesitation was death. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Why not just hide the worst parts? Because you demanded honesty, and because, he reached for my hand, I want you to see all of me, Sophia, the monster and the man, and then choose whether you can love both. Could I? That was the question that haunted my sleepless nights. I watched him conduct business, cold, calculating, terrifying, then watched him with me, tender, protective, vulnerable in ways he showed no one else. He set up a video call so I could see Lily and grandmother safely relocated to a countryside house, believing they'd won a wellness retreat. He bought me books, remembered how I took my coffee, and held me through nightmares about the attack on my apartment. I don't know who I am anymore, I confessed one night lying in his arms. The old Sophia would have run screaming, but this Sophia, she's falling for you all over again. What does that make me? Human, he murmured, kissing my hair. It makes you human. Love isn't logical, Tesoro. If it were, you would have never looked twice at a man like me. Are we safe now from the Constantins? His arms tightened around me. We're handling it. Dante. There's going to be a meeting tomorrow night, a sit-down between the families to negotiate peace. He pulled back to look at me. If it goes well, this ends. If it doesn't, what do you need me to do? Surprise flickered in his eyes. Stay here, stay safe, that's all. But I'd learned enough about his world to know that peace meetings in the Mafia were often covers for massacres. And I'd learned something else too. Despite everything, I loved him. Completely, impossibly. I loved the monster and the man. Promise me you'll come back, I whispered. I promise. Dante Moretti, swear to me on your family's name, come back to me. He cupped my face in his hands, his eyes burning with intensity. On my family's name, on my soul, on everything I am, I will come back to you, Sophia Chen, because you're my reason for living now. He kissed me then, deep and desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of me. And in that moment I knew, whatever tomorrow brought, we were in this together. The next evening I waited. Dante had left with his top men, all armed, all prepared for war disguised as diplomacy. The estate felt empty without him, despite the guards stationed everywhere. I couldn't settle, paced the study, tried to read, gave up. Something felt wrong. At 9 p.m. my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. Sophia Chen? a man's voice, accented Russian. You don't know me, but I know everything about you, about your sister at the Cambridge safe house, about your grandmother at the countryside estate, about Dante Moretti's foolish love for an ordinary bartender. Ice flooded my veins. Who is this? Dmitri Konstantin, and I'm calling to offer you a choice, the same choice Dante gave you, ironically, except mine is simpler: betray him or everyone you love dies, tonight. I won't. Listen carefully. The meeting location is 42 Warehouse District, Dock 7. Dante thinks it's neutral ground. It's not. It's my territory, filled with my men and my guns. In 15 minutes they're all going to die, unless you call him right now and convince him to leave, make up an emergency, say you're hurt, threatened, whatever. Get him to leave and I'll let him live. Refuse and you'll watch his death on the live feed I'm about to send you. My phone buzzed, a video link. I clicked it with shaking hands. The warehouse? I could see Dante and his men entering, weapons holstered, believing in the illusion of diplomacy. Could see the shadows moving in the rafters above them, Konstantin's snipers, at least 20 of them. It was a massacre waiting to happen. Why, I gasped, why give me this choice? Because Dante's love for you is his weakness. I could kill him tonight, yes. But what better revenge than to make him live, knowing the woman he loves betrayed him, that she chose her own life over his? It will destroy him more thoroughly than any bullet. You're insane. You have 10 minutes to decide, Sophia. Call him and save everyone, or stay silent and watch them all die, including him. The choice is yours. The line went dead. I stood there, phone in hand, watching the video feed. Dante was talking to Dmitri now, both men surrounded by their guards. It looked civil, professional. No one knew death waited in the shadows above. I could call him one call and he'd leave, he'd survive. But he'd know I betrayed him, he'd know I chose my family over his life, and in his world, betrayal was unforgivable. He might let me live, but he'd never trust me again, never love me the same way. Or I could stay silent, watch him walk into the trap, and pray that somehow he'd survive. What kind of choice was that? I thought about everything we'd been through, about the man who'd made me laugh, who'd held me through nightmares, who'd looked at me like I was his salvation in a world of damnation. I thought about his promise to come back to me. And I made my decision. I called him. Sophia, his voice was wary. What's wrong? Dante, listen to me carefully, it's a trap. The warehouse is surrounded, snipers in the rafters, at least 20. Dmitri Konstantin called me, he's planning to kill you all. Silence, then how did he contact you? That doesn't matter. Sophia, how did he get your private number? My heart sank. I don't know, but Dante, you need to leave, now, please. He offered you a deal, didn't he? Betray me and he spares your family. Yes, but... And you're calling to warn me anyway? His voice held wonder, even knowing it might cost you everything. I love you, you idiot. I'm not going to let you die. Sophia Chen, he said softly, you beautiful, foolish woman. You just gave me the only weapon I needed. What? Trust me one more time, trust me. The line went dead. On my screen, I watched as Dante casually put his phone away. Then, without any visible signal, chaos erupted. His men moved as one, flipping tables, drawing weapons, creating cover. Dante himself moved like lightning, grabbing Dmitri as a human shield just as the snipers opened fire. But Dante's men weren't surprised. They'd been ready. They returned fire at the exact locations of the snipers, taking them out with terrifying precision. It was over in minutes. Dmitri's trap had failed, his snipers eliminated, and Dante held the Russian boss at gunpoint, surrounded by bodies. I couldn't hear what he said, but I saw Dmitri's face go white with terror. Then Dante lowered his gun, said something else, and walked away. Just walked away, leaving Dmitri alive but destroyed among his dead men. 2 hours later, Dante walked into the study where I still sat, shaking, staring at the now dark video feed. He was covered in blood, none of it his, but he was alive. How? I whispered, how did you know? He knelt before me, taking my hands. I didn't, not for certain, but I know Dmitri Konstantin, I know how he thinks, so I prepared for a trap while hopping for peace. When you called, he smiled. You could have lied, could have made up an emergency to get me out, but you told me the truth about the snipers, about his call, everything. That truth saved us all. But I betrayed his plan, he'll go after my family. No, he won't. Dante's smile turned cold. Because I made him understand something tonight. He touched you, threatened you, and I let him live. That mercy came at a price. His organization is now under Morty protection. His men answer to me. He answers to me. He survives as long as you and your family remain untouched. The moment anything happens to any of you, he and everyone he loves dies, slowly. I should have been horrified. Instead, I felt nothing but relief. So it's over. It's over. I threw my arms around him and he held me so tight I could barely breathe. We stayed like that for a long time, two broken people clinging to each other in a world of darkness. I'm sorry, he whispered into my hair. I'm sorry for dragging you into this life. You deserved better. I deserved honesty, I replied, and you've given me that. Everything else, we'll figure it out. He pulled back to look at me, his eyes searching mine. You saved my life tonight, Sophia. Dimitri was right, you are my weakness, but you're also my greatest strength, because knowing you're waiting for me gives me reason to come home. Then come home, I said, always come home to me. Always, he promised. And he kissed me there in his study, surrounded by the trappings of his dark empire, and I kissed him back. The monster and the man, accepting all of him completely. 6 months later, I stood in the garden of the Morty estate watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. So much had changed, so much had stayed the same. Lily had finished her first year at Cambridge, still blissfully unaware of the real source of her financial security. Grandmother had recovered remarkably well at the countryside house, believing the Mortys were simply wealthy family friends. And me, I'd found my place in Dante's dark world. I wasn't naive anymore. I knew exactly what he did, what he was capable of. I'd seen him order deaths, watched him make decisions that would horrify my old self. But I'd also seen him negotiate peace, protect the innocent, and show mercy when others would have shown cruelty. He was complex, monster and man, darkness and light. And I loved every contradictory part of him. Thinking deep thoughts, Tesoro, Dante's arms wrapped around me from behind. Just remembering that night at the Velvet Rose, I said, leaning into him, when you said I'd change your life. I was right. You were, though I don't think either of us expected this. He turned me to face him, his hands framing my face with such gentleness it made my heart ache. Sophia Chen, you walked into my darkness and didn't run. You saw the monster and loved me anyway. You saved my life, my soul, my everything. I don't deserve you. Dante. But I'm going to spend every day trying to. He dropped to one knee and my breath caught. From his pocket he pulled a ring, a simple band with a single perfect diamond. Marry me, be my wife, my partner, my light in the darkness. I can't promise you a safe life or a normal one, but I can promise you're everything, always, so, will you? I should have hesitated, thought it through, considered all the implications. Instead, I dropped to my knees in front of him, cupping his face in my hands. Yes, 1,000 times yes. His smile was pure joy, rare for him, precious. He slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me like I was air and he'd been drowning. I love you, he murmured against my lips. My Sophia, my salvation. I love you too, I whispered back. My Dante, my impossible, complicated, beautiful disaster of a man. We stayed there in the garden as the sun set, two souls who'd found each other against all odds. He was still a mafia boss. I was still a bartender at heart, but together we were something new, something stronger than the sum of our parts. The path ahead wouldn't be easy, I knew that. There would be more danger, more moral compromises, more nights of fear and uncertainty, but there would also be love, fierce, consuming, unbreakable love. And in the end, isn't that what we all really need? Someone who sees our darkness and doesn't run, someone who sees our light and helps it shine brighter. I'd knelt for him that night in my apartment, not in submission but in choice. I'd chosen to enter his world, to love the monster and the man. And I'd do it again, 1,000 times over. Because love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone perfectly imperfect for you, someone worth fighting for, worth risking everything for. Dante Moretti was my someone, and I was his. And that made every danger, every fear, every impossible choice worth it. This is my story, the story of how I fell in love with a London mafia boss and survived, more than survived, thrived. They say love conquers all. I don't know if that's true, but I do know this: love gives you strength you never knew you had, courage you thought impossible, and sometimes, if you're very lucky, it gives you a reason to believe in happy endings. even in the darkest of places. Especially in the darkest of places. That's my story, the truth of how an ordinary bartender fell for London's most dangerous man. How I discovered that love isn't black and white, it's every shade of gray in between. Would I change anything if I could go back? Maybe, probably, but then I wouldn't have him. And a life without Dante Moretti, monster and man, isn't a life I want to live. Sometimes the greatest love stories aren't the safe ones. They're the ones that challenge you, change you, and make you choose who you want to become. I chose love, I chose him, and I'd make that choice again in a heartbeat. This is Sophia Morty signing off, and remember, sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is fall in love, but sometimes it's also the most worth it. If you loved this story, subscribe for more emotional romance tales. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a new story, and let me know in the comments, would you have made the same choice Sophia did? Drop your thoughts below.